Hey everyone, just calling to make a video review of season 3 of Cobra Kai. And for me, it was actually something I anticipated a lot, just because for me, it was a show that I had wanted to see when it first came out in YouTube, but in their monthly subscription service streaming. Um, Version of it, I guess. What do you call? I think it was YouTube Red at the time, and I've seen videos of the first two episodes of the first season, and I wanted to see it because I remember as a kid I saw the original, well, the Karate Kid films. I think because they all look the same. Honestly, I think I saw um, the next Karate Kid for a bit, and then I think parts of the Karate Kid 3. Because I was a kid. It was like one of those um, many movies from the 80s that I saw um, as a kid. That's already, those films already being, on DVD or, well, at that time, VHS. This is a different time. Or on TV. And especially on cable, which I remember when when I first had been watching, cable TV. Like it was years ago. It was when I was just a kid. It was just me with just seeing all of that too. Um, so I like the show so far. And leading up to season 3, I just finished it. It was a big climax at the season finale of season 2, where you had the fight that broke out. It was just crazy. It was cool. I mean, it was just stuff that you always, I guess, when you're in high school, wanted to be a part of, or I guess they're in high school, right? Yes, they're in high school, and they just had a big fight. They had just fights after fights happening all at once. Was just pretty. It was something that I had watched a couple times too, because the fights was pretty cool, and I liked the lead up to it. I think it was pretty awesome. You have Tori just in the office to get the PA system, just calling her out and just meet her in the main lobby of the school or whatever. Um, and they just had people just going out instantly, just going to see them, and then they just confronting each other, just have that quick gossip talk, and then they're just going to fight. And you have pretty much just at that point with the two main dojos that are the main characters from the first Karate Kid films that you get to see as well, with their development and their rivalry and their problems along with it in that season, and leading to how it ended with Miguel and Robbie having kicked Miguel off the balcony, landing on the stair guard. That looked pretty bad. I mean, I think the stunt double too. Give credit to him. Someone had to land it, and it starts off with that aftermath. And I think for that, it was pretty intense. Um, there was just the small details I noticed, which I'll point out to later. But there's almost like two halves of the season, right? The first half was those dealing with what happened negatively in their own ways, and then the second half was, in a sense, saving karate and leading up to finishing Cobra Kai once and for all, because John Kreese has control of Cobra Kai again. Their failure to have him lose the property where the dojo's been at didn't work out, and then they resorted to, if we're gonna beat them in the tournament, he's gonna go. So stuff like that, which you see I like the two different stories that's going on. You see Daniel LaRusso and his issues right now that his daughter was involved with the fights, his dojo, um, his competitor in his business and dealership was trying to cut him off from getting all the cars from any dealership possible, but mostly one main one, which they call Dayona. But we all know, I mean, whatever rhymed with Dayona, that's kind of similar to what I guess that company is made up from. But uh, that was really a good attempt to possibly have him lose the business, just because if they fall off, other you know vehicle companies may do the same. So there he was kind of struggling, trying to get pulled together, hold himself together, as he's also a dad and he's worrying about all that stuff, and his daughter having after the fight with Tori, she had kind of been traumatic, having panic attacks, close to panic attacks, because she wasn't to where she could stop breathing, and they had to rush her to the hospital or anything like that. I know she was close to having those, um, and so you see him having to go to Japan, where he originally went to go speak to Dayona. Didn't work out. But after his encounter with old rivals from, I guess, the second movie, which was kind of cool, but I never really saw the movie like that, so it wasn't that impactful, I guess you could say. And so then he went to try to come across people that he haven't seen, maybe get in touch with his late mentor who passed away, his teacher, who also passed away in real life like 15 years ago, and come across someone who he had saved in the village, who happened to be the senior vice president of the same company that was not trying to do business with him. And you know what? Everything worked out just by crazy odds, by odds in life, things just, being paid back after what you put in, that was pretty cool. I kind of like that development with learning more about his karate stuff that he didn't know originally, which involved pressure points. That kind of reminded me of development there, kind of like in anime and action movies or so forth, where they look into the past and then you have a character that's developing more in power, which was pretty cool. And then you see that with well, I say with Johnny Lawrence, with his development, trying to be there for people, helping others, which he did for Miguel a lot. Um, Having to learn how to walk again after, not even being sure if he could walk again, even with the surgery that he managed to pay for. And he was there with him all the way while having the struggle trying to be there with his own biological son, who he was distant with. So you have that issue as well. You have a lot of people that were struggling, trying to hold themselves together and trying to move forward. They finally, I guess, reconciled because they had a lot of misunderstanding. It took a mutual person that they both known, and then they had spent time with, for them to finally just hash things out. And a few cool things that I did like was, with Johnny making his own dojo again, but this time cutting ties off of everything Cobra Kai. And one thing I didn't like is the name, just because it says Eagle Fang, and I'm like, someone did mention it. It was one of the characters there that was former Cobra Kai. He was saying, but eagles don't have fangs, and immediately he just throws a T-shirt on them, and then that was the funny part. But that name's kind of weird. I personally thought you could have still had some reptile based on it, but it was interesting, I guess. It sounds pretty cool, but it just doesn't make sense if you think about it. I mean, it could have been cool if they had Python, like if you use Python Kai or Python Karate or whatever, where it can be cool, like when a reptile base, they shed their skin off, so it could have been symbolically behind it to where he shut it off from everything that he had been part of before and then just came on his own. It would have been pretty cool. Um, but regardless, it's not that bad. To see that, and it came full circle, especially with he really relapsed at the beginning after everything. Other thing I just wasn't okay for this was for the season. I guess is the time skip because this is 2 weeks after the ending of season 2 after the fight, and it felt like with so much that happened, it felt as if there was a lot more time that passed in just 2 weeks. It just doesn't feel like it was 2 weeks that it, had passed. Like Sam was in suspension. Um, Tori was expelled. She's already working 3 jobs. No one really heard from Sam's former friend Nicole. Robbie's on a run. I'm like, in 2 weeks. I'm like, how is this only 2 weeks? And then Miguel was in a coma for 2 weeks. I'm like, I don't know. It just seemed too soon. I would have been okay with at least a month. Like, if it's been a month, yeah, some times had passed, and then this is what people have just started to, have to deal with, which they've been doing so, not that long ago. They're just starting to, get used to it and just, kind of been established with it. But just in 2 weeks, I feel like that was too soon for a time skip. Because really everything looked pretty different within just 2 weeks passing. I did like the history of John Kreese looked into in his days where he went to, when he was in the army, kind of been shed to light on that, where he had the origins of how he, learned martial arts and how he did all that, where that came from. Just kind of weird. And it had kind of, a strange twist to it where he wasn't always evil. He was like a loser. He has been bullied. He could fight. It was back in the day, and it was like in the 40s, 50s, no, late 60s. He could fight. I think everybody was kind of tough in those days. So, but even those were still weaker. But it was a good movie. I almost said movie, but it was a good season. I did liked how they had a fight at the end, not necessarily with the kids because they fought at the LaRusso's family's house, and we kind of seen this happen already, so it wasn't that bad. But seeing Johnny Lawrence and Daniel LaRusso fighting John Kreese, not at the same time, that was pretty cool. Just seeing main people fighting them, and close to winning, but they stopped and then gave a chance for John Kreese to think, hey, well, we could settle this in the tournament. If I lose again, I'm gone for good. And then that's how it's going to set up for season 4. Just kind of disappointed that I finished everything in 2 days. It was 10 episodes. Some episodes are like 35 to 40 minutes on average. But other thing is, I wish I'd seen Nicole. I don't know where she went. They just said, oh, the parents moved and transferred. They put her to a private school. It was concerning. I looked into it where essentially her character was replaced by Tori, but she was the main female role over the second season, being love interest that Miguel has been. Kind of just took the space of that. But, I like to see her. She wasn't that bad. She was cool. She still had some connection with everything. There was some history with her. We'll see how it goes. Who knows? Who knows what they think of in season 4, whether to bring her back or I don't know. Maybe she was just gone. But because I don't know if season 5 will be a thing, just because it looks like it's going to end with season 4 with how things play out. Because I don't think there will be a new bad guy that they would have in that show after John Kreese. I think it's just been a good story overall, and so those are just my things, my review, and my thoughts about it all, having been everything I thought about with season 3 of Cobra Kai. It's a good show. Everybody should watch it. Action packed, especially people could relate to, whether y'all just graduated from high school or y'all in high school, or those that watch the Karate Kid films, because it's just 3 generations, I think, that's all been aware or heard of, or had a Karate Kid growing up. So that's been my review. Hope you guys like it, and you enjoyed it. Just hope that everyone had a great holidays, had a good Christmas and New Year's, and hopefully have a great 2021. Take care.